Welcome back everybody to another tutorial where we're learning about HTML coding. We've learned how to make a real simple page and upload it to GitHub. We learned some different tags that we could add to our HTML code, and we've even learned some inline styles to change the color and all those kind of things. This week we're going to be learning about page structures. So, kind of like in the past, we've just been putting together pages that were demonstrations, or for our assignments, we had an area at the top of a web page for some H1 text, and it was just like an area for it. We didn't have it defined as anything, and so one method that you can actually use to do this is called Semantic HTML. Basically, Semantic HTML is where you have little containers for your elements that we've been learning about, but we have these specially named containers for them that can hold them, and they're important because they help your code to be more organized. It's better for browsers and search engines to know what's on the page. Like if you're working on a website with a team of people, you're a little more organized and things are spelled out more clearly, so that helps out. And just in general, like for readability and accessibility and all those things, Semantic HTML is a good idea to use whenever possible. So let's go ahead and get to our folder here. We'll make a new folder inside our Web1 folder, and I'll call this one Semantic HTML, all lowercase, all one word. And then in my text editor here, I can go to Save As, and then find this folder, my Web1 folder, find where it's saved, find my Semantic HTML folder, and then as type, find where it says hypertext markup language, and the file name index.html, because it's the only page we're putting in this folder, so it's got to be index.html because it's technically the home page. Then I'll click save, and then on our page we can go with our exclamation mark up there, and then doc type space HTML. Struggling there for a moment, and then we'll go with our HTML tag. We'll press return down here, HTML, and the head section. And we have three things in here. One of them is going to be the title. And in the title, we'll just call this one Semantic HTML Demo. And we need our metadata in here. So meta char set equals UTF -8. We have that, and then our trusty description for the search engines and to show up in our search results to get people to want to click on it. So we'll go meta name equals description in quotation marks, and then we'll go content equals, and this is where the description is, so we'll use this showing how to use Semantic HTML for web page structure. And then we'll close that angle bracket up back there. So there is the head section, and then down here we have the body. Alright, so with this on here, we can diagram our page. I have this diagram that's on the left hand side. There's many ways that you can do page layouts. You know, don't get too wrapped up about the order of it for this. This is just an example that I found that I like and is pretty consistent with what you see a lot, but each page is going to be different. It depends on the use of it and everything. But the way that these containers are labeled should be done a certain way. So here we have the body, all right, and then here it says the top thing on this is going to be the header. All right, so up here I'm just going to use my angle brackets and I'm going to type in header. So header is a container, and I can put anything in there I want. I could put in an image. We'll learn how to do that later. I can put in a H1. I can do any of those things. Because we've been learning about H1 and H2 and those simple tags, that's kind of what we'll use to fill this in. So I'm going to put a H1 in here. And then I'll put in here, this is the header. Alright, and then if I save that and I open this up in my web page, we'll see in here, and it is like it looks the exact same as our pages have looked before, you know, but it's just organized differently in here. You know, the code can get confusing when you look at it, a lot of it at one time, but if I'm looking at all this code and there's something wrong at the top, I'll say, oh, this is the header. Oh, that must be the top of the web page. So header is the first semantic tag that we'll talk about here. The second one that we have is the nav. So this is kind of example of where many people put their nav menu at. And again, the nav menu, sometimes it might be above the header. You know, that stuff doesn't always necessarily matter, but what does help is if you have a section for your navigation menu, and that's where your nav menu is found. It makes life a lot easier. So here we'll go ahead and we'll put in just a paragraph in this, and we'll type in here, this is where we can find our links, you know, for the website. So I'll save that. Now going along in here after nav, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Not much, but a little. We have a section in here. It's like a container of a section. Okay, so a section is used to group things in a website or on a web page. I'll close it down here. And sometime here we have a section with articles in the section. I've also seen plenty of examples where there was an article with sections in the article. So it's kind of up to you on how that works. It all works the same way. Just depends on, you know, who you're making it for or who you're working for and how they want it done also, you know. For me, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, for what I care about. So here we have a section in here, and then I might put just like a H2 in here in the section. Here I might say something like, this is a title related to content of this page. So maybe where the header might be for like the domain, you know, like ESPN.com or college football, and then down here H2 might say the Nebraska Cornhuskers, you know, and that's what this page is about. Might be a way that you could organize that. So then in that section, it also appears that we have some articles found in the section. So here's the section there. I'm going to put an article in here. And just following our hierarchy we've talked about before, you know, here it says there's a heading and a paragraph in this article. So I've already used H1 and H2. This is kind of the next logical thing in here. So I'm going to go H3. And then I'll close H3. And then I might put in here something like title of article. And then underneath that, we have a paragraph underneath that heading. So in here, I could simply type in, this paragraph goes with the article. Maybe there's images and all that stuff in there too. This is just kind of showing you the easy way to do this. Now the reason why I like these page structures, and the reason why I like that the nature of web designs are supposed to be a bit repetitive, it makes updating the page easy. So like, let's say I started off only having one article in there. Well, I want to add some more content to this page. What I could do is I could just copy this article and then I can paste it in that same section, and then give this another title. So I could say title of second article, for example, and then this paragraph goes with the second article, just so we can tell the difference between the two. And then when we look on here, then we're following the same order of how things are done. So we have our H1, we have our hyperlinks there, we have our H2 for the page, then we have an H3 and a paragraph, and an H3 and a paragraph. So I could continue that repetition as many times as I want to, right? Then as we look here, it looks like we would go to footer, but this thing, this aside, ASIDE, this is like its own content also. So for example, this would go outside of the section. It appears that they want this out of the section. So I'm going to go underneath the section because I don't see this white area being a border on here. This aside basically goes up here down to there. And we'll learn how to put this stuff into columns like that at another time. But it sets up the same way. Even though it's to the side here, we're going to pretend it should be underneath. And down here, let me enter this down so you can see a little bit better. We can put in a side, and then an aside there. And there's a few ways we could do that. Some people would say, well, this aside, it would be an H3. Some would say, you know what, it probably should be an H4 because it's a smaller subcategory outside of this section. So just to do that, I'll go with an H4 on here. And then I'll put title for side section. That's fine. And then maybe in here, you know, sometimes you might see something kind of like a list in here. So I could go item 1, and then I'll just copy that and paste it, and then I could switch that to item 2, item 3. And there is our content for the aside. So if I save that and I look at this, you know, then we have our information there. And then down here we have our footer. So this will be after the aside. Scroll up here and look just to see how this is arranged up here. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so you know, maybe just to space this out to make it easier for you to read as you're looking at this video. So that is there. Then in the footer, we've done this a few times, and we'll use a paragraph, and we'll go ahead and use our EM on this also. And then here we could go page by, use your name, and then and copy semicolon, and then just in a year it's on there. So run this here, and that works pretty good. So there's our page structures. It still looks the same way as our other pages before styling, even where it's kind of generic. But as you can tell in here, this just makes a lot more sense looking at our code in this way than it would be looking at the other way. So this is kind of what we'll emphasize a lot with our assignments from here on out. Another good reason why you want to use Semantic HTML is the styling becomes a little bit easier also. And if we use our source here, our coolers.co that we used in an earlier template, copy this value for this color, and then I go in here to the section and use style equals quotation marks color, and then pound sign, and then I paste this. And then if I refresh this page and how it looks, you'll see in the section here, all the text in that section follows that attribute. So not only does this help make things a little bit more readable, it also helps your styling, right? Because if I want all of the text in the section to share some of the same behaviors, instead of saying, oh, I want the section to be this color, and I want the H2 to be this color, and then I want this H3 to be this color, and then I want this paragraph to be this color, and then I also want this, like how in our last assignments we did that kind of one line at a time. It was a little bit time consuming. Here we can make those changes to the element that contains the others, and then it fixes them all in one spot. So there we have it. We have our web page that follows this page structure, helps us stay organized, helps coding be more efficient, and makes styling be more efficient. Let me know if you have questions on it. Be happy to help. Appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on our next video.